Hey guys, so in this short video I'll be showing you how I captured this photo of Saturn. The telescope I'll be using is a custom built 24-inch or 600mm aperture Newtonian reflector, or Dobsonian in this case. The scope is fully go-to capable and enables it to track Saturn throughout the night. As for the imaging train I'll be using, we start with the 2.7x APM coma correcting Barlow. Behind that is a polarizing filter cell. This doesn't actually have a filter in there, it's just to achieve focus. We then get onto the electronic atmospheric dispersion corrector, or eADC. Behind that we just have some additional spacers, and then finally arriving with the camera, which is the Player 1 IMX585 color in this case, but I am also using the monochrome version. In total this brings us to 9000mm or f/15. Okay, so it's the next morning, and I've downloaded all the data that I got during the session. As you can see, these files are pretty large, 3-4 gigabytes in size. You can see the first session here, first video rather, is about 2 AM, so this is in universal time. So I've got some color data, as you can see by the RGB, and then I switched camera for a bit for these recordings during infrared, and then back to color, and then back to infrared. I usually do this just so that if seeing conditions drop off, I can always use the infrared data as luminance, as we're going to see. But for this data set, I think that seeing is good enough to use this, the color data. So first of all, you want to open up AutoStack it. I have the latest version here, the version 4. First of all, let's go for some infrared data. So you just want to shift click a bunch of them that you want to essentially batch process. You don't want to use too much if you have an old azimuth mount because of the field rotation. So you end up with the alignment points not working too well for the edge case essentially. So I usually stick with maybe 7 or so, and then you just drag the middle one across to here, and then it's opened it up. So first of all, you want to click this remember so that it keeps the same image size for all the videos. I usually just drop this back a little bit with the arrow key so you don't have any artifacts on the edge of the frame. For this it's grayscale data because it's infrared. And then on the advanced settings, I usually keep the detect abrupt horizontal and vertical artifacts enabled in case it drifted out of field of view or whatever it might be. Maybe a gust of wind, although obviously this morning wasn't too windy. I also have the ultra smooth map recombination enabled. I have tested this extensively. It doesn't really blur the details, to be honest. It only helps with when seeing is particularly poor or say wavy. It helps sort of negate the issues there. I do also have, so in the experimental features, I also do enable some pre-blur because as you can see when I zoom in 2.5 times there, it's very noisy. So I typically just like to do a touch of pre-blur so the stacking and alignment is more accurate. So that's that there. I always keep it on noise robust 8. The automatic I feel like doesn't work very well. It usually uses a value that's too low. You can see it's used 4 here. In my experience, I just stick it at 8 and it works fine. So the next thing, you just analyze and make sure you're on planet mode for this, of course. And when that's done, there you go. So this is now ordered in quality. So if I scrub through this, you can see towards the end, these are the poorer frames. And then the better frames, obviously quite nice seeing here. I typically go for somewhere around here. It's quite hard to determine. There's not like a set thing that I use, but usually I'd go, so where this green quality line cuts through the 50% mark, I usually go somewhere halfway to the left. So for instance here, comes down, cuts here, i.e. the first quarter. And so I've gone for about 12%. So I just want to place AP grid here, so I've selected size 48. I've done a few tests on Saturn, and this usually works the best for me. Of course, it depends on your focal length and focal ratio. But yeah, and then also sometimes when you place the AP grid, especially if you don't have the multi-scale or close to edge enabled, you can see it misses some of the rings. So I have those enabled, and then even here it's missed at just this far corner, so I make sure to include that. And I think that's about it, so we'll stack that. Okay, so that's all completed stacking. The color data was very much the same process, just tick the RGB line and everything's the same. So I've moved all the stacks over to my hard drive, and you can see these are the smoothed out stacked images at around about 11% of the frame, so a lot less noisy than the original video. Load this up into Astrosurface to apply wavelets processing. So let's pick just a random one of the IRs. So this is again one of the stacked images from the videos, and then we click on this wavelets tab, and there you go. Immediately it's sharpened up the details. These are settings that I used on a previous night, so they seem pretty good already, but you can see there in the upper part, that white spot is actually the moon of Tethys, transiting the northern hemisphere. You can also see the Yenka division here on the left and right side of the rings, and then of course the shadow of the globe on the back side of the ring, so pretty neat. If we increase the gamma as well, you can also see the moon of Mimas just below the planet. I usually use a bit of deconvolution alongside wavelets. I tend to find it works well with my data. It might not for yours, but it's worth trying, so we'll go for that. And then you just what we want to do for the batch processing is just to save P, and then I'll just keep it parameters for ease, and then I'll just save, overwrite that, click OK, and then you go to this B next to the wavelets for batch. We'll just close this image, load files, so we want to do all of the infrared data, so we shift click those, and then load P here in the batch processing window, and then parameters, which is the one that we saved. I changed it to TIFF and then just leave the text, but you can add what you want, and then you process. So I've now just batch processed both the color data and the infrared data. So if I actually shift click these into AutoStack it, you can actually play it as an animation, and you can see there's actually two moons there. I don't know whether it will come through with the compression, but there's Tethys on the higher side and then Enceladus just below, and you can also see some dark spoke features rotating with the ring system. These are caused by Saturn's magnetic field, and then of course the Encke division on either side of the rings. And if I increase the brightness, you can also see Mimas there exiting occultation behind the planet. So if we actually compare that to the simulated view, this is from WinJupos. You can see Mimas there at the bottom, and then if I zoom in, Tethys and Enceladus, and you might also notice the shadows. Now, if I load up the infrared data only, the first set, and then play that without the brightness, you can actually see the shadow. So that's pretty neat. Okay, so while we're in WinJupos, we can now combine our single stacks into a single image. So what we want to do is go to recording, then image measurement, and this is saved already. I've just set it up, but if I go to the let's do the color data actually. So 313 doesn't really matter, and then adjustments. Let's change just to color because it's color data. And as we can see, the alignment frame is slightly misaligned, so we want to align this, make sure you're on the adjust menu, and then just using the arrow keys we can translate. That looks pretty good. If you want to change the size, it's page up and page down on a keyboard, but I'm pretty happy with this. So now we're going to press F2 to save the settings. So now once you've made the image measurements, you want to go up to Tools, Anti-Rotation of Images. Here we just go and add the IMS files that I just created for the color data, and then it's loaded them in here. And then we go to Options, and we want to enable the rotation of planetary rings and the correction of moons and shadows since we have them in transit. Click OK, and then it should automatically choose the middle time point. And then I'm just going to quickly make a new folder, DR for derotated, and compile image. So here I've just pulled up the infrared and color data as layers in GIMP. So these are derotated sets, so this is combining all of the single stacks together, and you can see it's a lot lower noise. And also you can notice that the infrared data has a lot more cloud contrast. This is partly due to the scene conditions being a lot more stable in the infrared band, but also Saturn just has more detail in this wavelength. So here I'm just going to combine some of the smaller scale detail onto the color image, so just boost that contrast a little bit more. So here I've just load them up as layers, color layer above the infrared layer, and all I'm just going to go do is go to filters, enhance, and then wavelet decompose, and then just leave the settings as default. Click OK, and then we click on the IR layer and do the exact same thing. So repeat wavelet decompose, or you can just follow the same steps. And here I'm going to then start dragging these scales from the infrared layer up onto the color layer in between. So it goes 1, 1, 2, 2, etc. And you can see as I do so, the detail will increase. If you do too much, then obviously it becomes a bit unnatural. So I usually turn these off and just find a sweet spot. I quite like how that's looking now, and so I'm just going to save this off as a separate file. And here is the final result.